Hi, so a couple of days ago, my husband and I hosted a promotion party for him. It was a pretty big deal because he had been working towards this for the past couple of years, and now that it was in the works, we couldn't have been happier. So we invited a lot of people. That included friends and family, and of course, a couple of his co workers that he was very close to. This also meant that Nella was invited, and she happens to be my husband's work wife. Just for the record, that's what she refers to herself as, and my husband plays along with it because he thinks it's funny. I used to think it was funny too, but to be honest, I find her kind of weird and clingy now. Let me give you guys some background info. My husband and I have been together for the past 6 years and have been married for 3 years now. However, he and Nella have known each other for longer. They started out at the company around the same time and they became close friends. That was about 10 years ago, and since then, both of them have put in a lot of effort to work their way up. So naturally, they are close on account of how much time they have to spend together at work. But I've never been intimidated by her because I always thought that they were just friends, nothing more. And honestly, that's what it really felt like in the initial few years that I got to know her. We would hang out occasionally, she would come over for parties and get-togethers, and we would all have a fun time. And it was very normal. But in the past few years, right after we got married, I don't know why, but she started to act very weird. She started making jokes at my expense. She would avoid speaking to me or even acknowledging my existence, unless it was absolutely necessary, and basically just did everything in her power to make me feel like I was unwanted. I don't know why that change took place all of a sudden, and I did speak to my husband about it as well. As a result, we hung out with her less, but whenever we did, she was always weird with me. Anyway, this time we decided to invite her to the party after a lot of deliberation because we thought that it would be weird not to have her there. Besides, it's not like anybody else has ever picked up on this, so just for the sake of being polite, we decided to invite her, and I guess that was a mistake. Because at the party she totally humiliated me, or at least she tried her best. Thanks to her fiance, it backfired on her, but still, I can't say I feel sorry for her at all. And surprisingly, she's blaming me for all of this. Basically, at the party, she showed up an hour late, and when she did turn up, she came with her fiance and made a whole thing out of it. We knew that she had been dating this guy for the past 2 years, but we didn't know that she was engaged. She decided to make that announcement at our party, and even then we didn't say anything, we just congratulated her. When I congratulated her, she just smiled in a very weird way, but didn't even thank me. Then a couple of minutes later, while I was chatting with my husband and a couple of his friends, she came up to me and asked me if she could speak to me in private. I agreed. We went to a corner of the room. I thought that she was going to be speaking softly, but instead she spoke as loudly as she possibly could without screaming. And naturally, that meant that people around us started looking at us weirdly because the things she was saying, really harsh and accusatory and literally untrue. She started telling me that she knew that I was the reason why my husband did not hang out with her that often, why he tried to avoid her outside of work, and why he seemed wary of her. She told me that she knew I was jealous and insecure, but at the end of the day, they were just friends and I really did not have any reason to act that way. She said that that was just ruining her friendship with my husband. I was also ruining his promising future by behaving like this, because apparently they need to work closely, and because of me, my husband probably feels awkward around her, and that's why she also gets awkward and is not able to have the same kind of relationship with him anymore, be it professional or personal. So now she thought that it was high time to confront me since my husband had been promoted and she didn't find any bad blood between the two of them since he was going to be working at a higher level now. And she told me that if she faced any trouble at work because of my insecurity and jealousy, then she would have no other option but to look into her legal options. And that would create a lot of trouble for both me and my husband. I was shocked. I had no idea what to even say to that, but as it turns out, I didn't need to say anything because her fiance had heard everything, and so had everybody else at the party, and he stepped up and said that she was making everything weird, and he seemed pretty upset about everything that had been said and done. He started to argue with her. She tried to get him to stop saying things against her, but I guess he had a lot of anger and frustration pent up inside of him, which just came out at the party. And even though Nella had started the whole thing in order to humiliate me, it was actually she who faced the worst of it. Because when her fiancé came up to her, he started arguing with her and told her that she was embarrassing him in front of everyone. And that was kind of true because he said he didn't even know anybody here. And yet she had dragged him to the party even though he had not even been invited. He said that she knew what she was doing. And he also knew that she was doing it just because she, in some twisted way, wanted to see how this would affect my husband. Because she probably had feelings for him or something. And yet she was not ready to admit it to anybody, let alone herself. He accused her of first manipulating him to propose by constantly nagging him, and now he could see the whole picture because it was clear to him that she only wanted him to propose the effect, but she didn't actually care about him, because otherwise she wouldn't be behaving like this. Since for her, everything was about my husband and how I was always jealous of her, and this was news to both of us because we knew that she probably had an issue with me, but we didn't know that this is how deep it ran. And since a couple of co-workers were there at the party, it was definitely quite humiliating for Nella, and she tried to get her fiancé to stop. But he just went on and on until she started crying, and then he took his ring off, flung it on the floor, and stormed off. We didn't know what to say, so we stood there frozen while she cried for a couple of minutes, and then even she left. We actually still have the ring with us. We don't know what to do with it, but anyway, that's what happened at the party. And after she left, things were really weird, so we had to end it sooner than anticipated. However, it definitely became a hot topic for everyone who was there, especially my husband and his co-workers, and of course me. Because it was pretty scandalous, and we are not above gossiping. Of course, we didn't go out of our way to tell other people who were not there at the party, but his other co-workers did. And now that it's all out there, work has been pretty weird for the past couple of days, and my husband has been avoiding Nella altogether. She's also getting a lot of strange looks. Nobody wants to interact with her, and the ones who do, they just do it out of pity, and she can tell. But what I don't see at all is how any of this is my fault. And that's exactly what she has been blaming me for the past 2 days. I haven't told my husband yet because he has told me that if she tries to stir up any more drama, then she's going to take it up with HR, and I know that she loves this job. Back when we used to be friends, she had told me all about it. She had also said that she came from a family where she had never even been able to imagine that she would be able to support herself and go beyond that as well, because her parents were not really financially stable. So this job means the world to her, and now she's doing everything in her power to jeopardize it. And I don't understand why. Surely she doesn't think that she has any chance with a married man, especially with my husband. So why go to this extent? I just don't get it. Anyway, she's been blaming me for everything that has happened, saying it was my insecurity and jealousy that drove her mad in the first place. And now, just because she confronted me about it, people have all sorts of things to say about her without even knowing the full truth of the situation. She thinks it's my fault that my husband started distancing himself from her. And that was the beginning of the whole problem. And just because she tried to address it, she's the villain all of a sudden. She's been sending me messages about this for the past 2 days, and I haven't blocked her yet, but I haven't responded either. I don't even know what to say, to be very honest. I know that reasoning with her or arguing with her is not going to get me anywhere. She's beyond that right now. What I'm confused about is whether I should take this up with my husband or not, because I know that if I tell him about it, he's going to take it up with HR. And that's going to be pretty ugly for her. So I don't know. I might end up being a bad guy here, but given the rate things are going, I don't see any other alternative. To be honest, I don't really think she has much of a future at the company anyway, because sooner or later, these things are going to get out of hand. Pretty much everybody knows already. I think she's pretty brave to be going to work even now. Anyway, that's none of my business, but I know for a fact that if this goes further, things are not going to end well for her, at least on the career front. And I just feel like whatever's happening is so petty. I can't imagine this resulting in somebody's job being taken away. That's the only thing that's stopping me right now. The fact I don't want to be petty. So WIBTA now if I told my husband about how his work wife is bothering me, even if it gets her fired? Update 1. Hi everybody. So I decided to speak to my husband about the messages I've been receiving from Nella, because honestly, I don't know how to deal with it. I didn't think that it was necessary for me to deal with it at all, because this is not my problem. So I told him all about it, and of course, his first reaction was that he was going to go to HR now, because things are getting out of hand and she has no right to be bothering me like this incessantly for something that's not even my fault. He was pretty upset, and I was too, because at the end of the day, she used to be our friend. I don't know what went wrong. I don't know why she had to go and catch feelings for my husband, because I'm pretty sure that that's what's happening here. But she's ruined everything. However, I still wanted her to have a fair chance at fixing things. So I told my husband that instead of going to HR first, I wanted him to speak to Nella as a friend. Try to convince her to back off and see if that works. He was not okay with that. He said that she was not a child and she knows what she's doing, so she doesn't deserve that chance. Especially after what happened at the party. It was very difficult to convince him to give it a try, but eventually I was able to do so. Because at least if he tried to talk to her and reason with her, maybe she wouldn't react as bad as she definitely would if he went straight to HR. Besides, I knew that. Even if she was not responsive towards me in my attempts to set things straight, she would probably be more receptive towards him. And honestly, she should just be grateful, because I was trying to spare her the humiliation of losing her job. I mean, at the rate things are going, she might be able to quit by herself, but if she gets fired, that's just sad. So I was trying to save her in a way, but instead, the way she behaved with my husband when he tried to talk to her, I think it was pointless, and I really shouldn't have convinced him to try and talk some sense into her, because clearly there's no getting through to her at this point. In her head, she has decided that she is the victim and everybody else is the villain. That's the narrative she's going to stick to, even if the facts state otherwise. So she can do whatever she wants. Doesn't make a difference to us anymore, because now my husband has done whatever he could, and now he will go to HR. Update 2. Hey everybody, so I didn't realize that everybody would be so keen to know what exactly went down between Nella and my husband when he tried to talk to her about her behavior. Which is why I hadn't mentioned it. Also, because I didn't really think that it was relevant. But since you guys already want to know, here it is. Basically, he called her up And she immediately picked up, and before he could even say anything, she started telling him that she was glad he had come to his senses and that he was not being my puppet anymore because everything that had happened was simply crazy. She said that she had lost her boyfriend and the love of her life, and now she was at risk of losing her job because she couldn't see how she could continue working here, given all the gossip surrounding her. She started ranting about her own situation and said that he had to do something to fix it, and said that she didn't care what he did, but she expected him to be a good friend to her at least this one time. She was quite hysterical. But my husband still said whatever he had to say, and he tried to be gentle and polite. But even then she snapped at him and said that she couldn't believe he was taking my side instead of hers, when he knew for a fact that everything that she had said was true. She said she knew for a fact that I was insecure and jealous of her, and that was why I did not want him hanging out with her anymore. And that had ruined so much. And the only reason she had confronted me at the party in front of everyone was because she thought that that would be the only way to have witnesses for our conversation. Because otherwise I could say one thing and then deny it, since she wouldn't have any other proof. I didn't even know what she was going on about. I'm not some criminal mastermind. I don't know why she would think like that. But anyway, that was her explanation as to why she decided to confront me in front of everyone and be so loud about the whole thing. Then she defended herself, saying that she just thought that she would be risking her work if he continued to keep his distance from her, because maybe my insecurity and jealousy would lead him to make different choices at work, which would mean that she wouldn't get as many opportunities as she deserved. And that was why she had brought up the whole legal thing, so that at least she could intimidate me a bit into making sure that she didn't lose out on any work. And apparently that was all that she was trying to do. Look out for herself. I mean, I don't even know how to react to that because it's so melodramatic. Anyway, she got so defensive that my husband barely even got a chance to speak, and even though he kept trying to talk some sense into her, she just kept screaming at him. And at one point he just hung up because he couldn't take it anymore. She was being incredibly disrespectful and rude. There was no talking to her, that was clear. She had made up her mind. There was no changing it anymore, and that was why we decided to go to HR with this whole thing. He reported her now, and she's in deep trouble. She's been placed on forced leave without pay for now, while they figure out what to do about the whole situation at the moment. In the beginning, I was kind of afraid that this might jeopardize my husband's promotion, but that's not going to be affected at all, thankfully, because he didn't have anything to do with it. In fact, it's probably even going to speed up the process because he's the affected party here. So anyway, I guess it worked out in his favor. Everybody else who works with him has been very sympathetic to him because he's quite well liked in his office, and most people are glad to see Nella because apparently she didn't really get along well with a lot of folks since her superior attitude rubbed people the wrong way. So I'm guessing she might not be able to come back to work, and honestly, in spite of everything that has happened, I do feel kind of bad for her. Like I said, I know how much she had to work for it, but ultimately, if she loses this, it's going to be because of her own fault. And I hope she realizes that. We had given her a chance to apologize and let it all go, but she chose not to take that. She chose to make it all worse for herself. Trust me, it's not like my husband and I are enjoying this process either. We've both been quite upset about this whole thing, but what can we do? Well, I guess not everybody can be helped, and she's one of them. I hope that whatever happens, it happens soon, so this can be wrapped up and nobody has to wait indefinitely for a decision. I think it's better to just rip off the Band-Aid quickly, especially in a situation like this where she's already acting so insane. And I also hope that she's able to find a better opportunity in the future, and that she realizes that whatever she did was totally unnecessary and uncalled for. I hope she realizes her mistake at least and leaves us alone and doesn't bother us again. Even if he gets fired, I'm pretty sure she's going to blame it on us, but I don't care about that. I know that none of this is my fault. And that's all that I really need. Update 3. Hey everyone, so it's been a week and a half since my last update. And a couple of days ago, Nella was fired. Honestly, I can't say I didn't see it coming, and in the past few days leading up to it, I think I had changed my mind as well. I think I was actually hoping that she got fired because she has been a nuisance to deal with ever since that whole incident at the party. I hate to say it, but I have to say it. I don't even feel bad for her anymore. And I think that the fact that she was let go of was totally well deserved. Because in the past couple of days, not only has she been sending me a bunch of hateful messages on every possible social media platform, she's also been telling everybody that my husband works with that and my husband and I are getting fired because I'm jealous of her and I can't stand the fact that my husband used to have a close bond with her. I mean, I've never heard of a more ridiculous thing. Of course, nobody believed it. Nobody even responded to her, so she started a petition. And that was the last straw. Before that, I was willing to admit that maybe she was just a bit desperate. But after that, I thought she had totally lost the plot. Because seriously, I can't imagine any scenario where sending a bunch of petitions in her favor to her co-workers in order to prevent her termination would be a reasonable thing to do. I just can't. And of course, that didn't help her situation either. It just made her look even crazier. And I think that definitely contributed to her getting fired. I already knew that she was going to try and blame me for this whole thing, so that did not come as a surprise to me. So when she was let go of, she immediately started posting on Facebook saying that my husband and I had teamed up to ruin her life together, and that we were the most heartless and cruel people to exist. She claimed that my husband had led her on, had made her think that he was in love with her, and then married me, and that was the reason why she had felt so offended. But even then, she had not given up on him, and yet this is how he treated her, just because he was afraid of me or something. I mean, what does that even mean? Why would my husband be afraid of me? She just can't accept the fact that we love each other, and honestly, the fact that she seemed to have feelings for my husband before we got married, that just makes everything so much weirder because, like I said, we used to be friends, so what was that even about then? I mean, if those were her true feelings, then why did she even pretend to be friends with me? Because I remember how we used to be. And the fact that she was just acting. The fact that she thought that eventually my husband would move on from me and end up with her, and yet she pretended to be nice to me and everything. That's just creepy and extremely weird. It came as news to my husband as well, because he swore that he had never done anything or said anything to make her think that he was interested in her, and for him, she had been nothing more than a friend. And I totally believe him because I've seen him with his friends. I've seen him with her as well, and he behaves with her just like he does with the rest of his friends. She doesn't get any special treatment or whatever, so I don't understand what she was talking about. Claiming that he used to lead her on is just a strategy for her to gain sympathy from people who will be stupid enough to believe her. But so far, there have hardly been a couple, and even those people are just friends. Most are on our side, and honestly, that doesn't really matter to us because we don't care. We know that we are not in the wrong here, and that is enough for us. I know that the only thing she wants at this point, now that she knows that she can't have my husband, is to defame him somehow. Well, She's out of luck because nobody believes her. And nobody ever will because I know my husband. People know him and they know what kind of a person he is. And one thing is for sure, he's definitely not the kind of person that she's claiming him to be. So whatever. She can say whatever she wants. In fact, after she got fired and started making these posts, his co-workers sent us a bunch of screenshots, but recently we told them not to bother because we were not going to engage with her. We were just not going to give her the satisfaction of getting a reaction out of us because I know that that's exactly what she wants. But that's not happening. We are not going to react at all. We are not going to speak to her. And we are just going to pretend that she doesn't even exist because I think that's the best way to deal with her. And it's going to be pretty easy as well because now she truly doesn't exist for us. Until recent events, I was still feeling bad for her and so was my husband. But after everything that's happened, I think she totally deserves everything that she has been through. Because she's brought it onto herself. So whatever. She can keep doing these stupid things and keep facing the consequences. Update 4. Hey everyone, it's been 6 months since my last update and recently my husband and I found out that I was pregnant. Honestly, we have never been happier and I think this was the perfect time for this to happen. I am in a good place in my career and so is he. I run a business. I don't think I've mentioned that before and right now it's going pretty smoothly so I think I can take some time off soon enough. And of course, he was promoted pretty recently. He's making a lot of money and it's just the perfect timing. So anyway, we found out about it a couple of weeks ago and recently we posted about it on social media. Now, honestly, we have totally moved on from the Nella episode, but I don't think that she has because she made a post about how we had only publicly made this announcement just to spite her. But I think everybody with half a brain knows that this had nothing to do with her. We just wanted to make this announcement, that's it. Anyway, it's just sad that she's still so delusional, even though we have had nothing to do with her for a long time now. From what we heard, after she got laid off, she decided to take a breather for a couple of months and now she's working in another place. She has moved states and yet she's not over the whole thing yet. I can just hope that she moves on and leaves us alone, but whatever, it's her loss. She's just making a fool out of herself at this point. I know that I am happy and so is my husband, and I know that our friends and family are also happy for us. So really, what anybody else thinks, especially her, hardly matters to us. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.